Hi there, folks. This is Jim the Keys bartender coming to you from Key Largo and the beautiful Florida Keys. Today, I'm going to be interviewing Rebekah from Rebekah and the Keys. Hello, Rebekah.
Hi, Jim. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We just spoke for 10 minutes prior to recording this, and my voice was fine, and now it's starting to break up. I have a tendency. I was a heavy smoker for years, and I have allergies. I think that. Oh no, this is not.
It's spring too. It's that time of year.
Yeah, it's not a really good sound for me. But Rebekah and the Keys is. Rebekah is the host of a 5-minute video news program, and she is also a high school English teacher and English language teacher. You were a reporter for the local, one of the local newspapers, and you also owned the largest weekly newspaper in the Upper Keys before becoming the editorial director of an investors relation company in Key Largo. And currently, let's say, give you some of the other things that you do. You have a bunny and chicken ranch called the Bunny Ranch and Etc., which is a charming name.
Correct.
You're a musician and a songwriter, and you're the chairwoman of the Islamorada Achievable Housing Citizens Advisory Committee, and you're on the board of Wild Women on the Water. You have a rather full life, and you are, by definition, a Renaissance woman, aren't you?
No, I like to stay busy, Jim.
Oh, besides all those other things, what do you do in your spare time? I'm just kidding.
Oh, in my spare time, boating, I'll tell you. I'm looking forward to getting out on the water probably tomorrow. I've been stuck inside for quite a while now, and tomorrow looks like a good day to go and enjoy the Florida Bay.
Okay. Well, if any of the listeners may recognize you, because for 3 years you were hosting videos and commercials on marathonflorida.com TV88, our local access channel that they show in a lot of the hotels and businesses around here, and then we're highlighting businesses. But just recently, you teamed up with Jim Cusable, a digital marketer, and you bought out. You got the rights to Rebekah and the Keys. .com, and you started out on your own. So, and you were doing a 5-minute video, a free video interview for businesses affected by the coronavirus, and also interesting human interest stories, survival messages of hope, and all those things. What we're going to get you to, I'm going to give the listeners a place where you can get a hold of you. So if you want to see some of these videos, and we're going to say this at the end too, you can go to Rebekah and the Keys. Now, Rebekah is spelled Rebikah.
It's Rebekah.
I wrote that down wrong. Rebekah, indthekeys.com. And we'll put that on in the summary description. Look at me. And you also have you can Rebekah and the Keys on YouTube, Rebekah and the Keys Facebook, and Instagram. And on Twitter, it's Rebekah_Keys or Key?
Keys, Rebekah_Keys. I guess there's another Rebekah and the Keys out there somewhere.
Oh, really? Is there anything?
I don't know, but it wasn't available. So.
Is that a veiled message that we need to get rid of her or something?
Yeah, I think she needs to.
No, I know you don't. You don't mean anything.
Not at
all. You sound like you sound young, but you've been down here for a while. How long have you been in the Keys? You are young. You're young compared to me.
Yeah, it depends relatively what you're comparing me to. But
I'm old.
So I moved down here in 1999 after graduating from Miami of Ohio in Oxford, Ohio. I grew up in Ohio. And I moved down here as a journalist. I started with the Upper Keys Reporter, and I worked there for a year. Then I went over to the Islamorada Free Press and worked there for a few years. And then I started my own newspaper, the Upper Keys Times. And I ran that for a couple years. 1 year as the editorial director under different ownership. And then the second year, I acquired the business and owned the business. I believe I was 24, 25 years old when I took over the business and ran that for a few years until the hurricane season of, I believe it was 2003, when all of those hurricanes came through one after another. And my business was too young. It was just my own personal company had owned that business for just 6 months when that hurricane season hit. And it was too much. We didn't have any reserves, and I didn't want to go a week without paying my employees. So after Hurricane Charlie had caused the evacuation of the Keys and all of our advertisers pulled for like the third time that season, I said, okay, I'm sorry, we have to hang it up. I got jobs for all of my employees. And then I started working for an investor relations firm, Hawk Associates, for Frank Hawkins, big member of the Upper Keys Rotary here. And he has an investor relations firm for small cap and micro cap companies on Wall Street. So we would be their outsourced investor relations company. They are required by law to have some kind of investor relations if you're a publicly traded company, and so sometimes it's cheaper to outsource that, so you're not paying a full-time salary. So that's what we did. I was the editorial director, and I worked there for a little over 3 years. I moved to Jacksonville in 2007, and I eventually got my teaching certificate. And I taught there for 6 years up in Jacksonville at Mandarin High School until I just couldn't take it anymore. I am Rebekah in the Keys, and I wanted to be back in the Keys. And so I quit my job. I loved my job, and they loved me, but I just had to be back here. I quit my job, and I applied to Coral Shores High School. And for the last, I think, 5 or 6 years, I don't know. I think I'm having times all running together right now. But I think for the last 5 years or 6 years, I've worked at Coral Shores High School as an English teacher and an English language learner teacher there.
Mm-hmm. So,
okay.
and so you're at Coral Shores, and how'd you get involved with TV88?
All right, so TV88, I was actually at a Wild Women on the Water event. We were doing Island Fest at Islamorada Founders Park. And we were doing the float your own boat, where we had a homemade boat. Wild Women on the Water is one of my passions too. It's a boater group for ladies here in the Keys, and boating and just social club. And so we had made our own boat. We were having a great time racing the boat. And this guy with a video camera, I asked him to move out of the way because the ladies were complaining he was in their way. We were standing on this shore, and I was like, hey, you, move out of the way. And it was the owner of TV88. He was filming all the activity in the event. And he looked at me and he goes, I want to talk to you. And I said, okay. And so after the event, he pulled me aside and he said, I think you've got a face for that I've been looking for. And I said, excuse me? And he goes, I shoot commercials. I'm the owner of MarathonFlorida.com and TV88. And I'd like you to try out some videos. And so that's how I got started with TV88. That went really well, and then but the videos got less and less, and it was hard, having a full-time job too. So it just a couple months ago, he offered to let me have the RebekahsBackground website, and Jim and I decided to take it over and see what we could do with it. Well, when the coronavirus hit, so this was right before coronavirus had really come into the United States. Maybe we had started to hear about it, or maybe it was right before then. But we had this website, and we had the domain name. We had everything set up, but we weren't really sure what to do with it. And then I just woke up one morning, and I kind of am the type of person who really wants to do my part in society, in the community. I'm really driven to help people. And I said, we could use this as an amazing tool for people to get their word out about what they're still doing in business. How they pivoted their business from, for example, a dine-in restaurant to a carry-out, or how car dealerships have become disinfection services for cars. And this story of this point in human history, if we can provide 5-minute videos for free just to get the word out about what people are doing in their message and just sort of document this time in human history that's so unique and so different and unusual than anything that we've ever been through before.
Well, that you just got through two of my questions right there, so that's great. So you acquired RebekahsBackground prior to, without the foreknowledge of, or the present knowledge of the coronavirus having this huge effect on our economy.
Right.
So that started mid-March, where things started shutting down. It was the 14th, 15th, 16th. We started getting orders on social distancing, which is one of your hot button issues if you put it as a hashtag. And you chose to focus on businesses to help the ones that are struggling. Now, you also focus on some of the personal interest stories. Have you come in contact with some interesting people that you wanted to share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a Florida Keys native. She grew up down here. I actually saw her as a small child and I saw her grow up down in the Florida Keys. And she moved to just outside of New York City, and she is an occupational therapist. Well, almost exactly, just a little more than 9 months ago, she told me that she was pregnant, and that was all wonderful and great. And she had the baby kind of at the very beginning stages of coronavirus in the United States, when things were getting a little bit bad in New York, and she had to be in that hospital. You know, she gave delivery to her firstborn, and the father was there, and how he had a hard time getting back into the hospital. He was one of the last fathers that was able to be in the birthing room. So that was really interesting, and I wanted to share that story, again, like you said, human interest story, with people in the Keys just wanting to know what the conditions were like in New York, too. And I asked them about New York, and they talked about how the air is so much cleaner and, you know, how it's kind of a little bit, well, definitely a lot eerie about New York City and all the traffic. It's not like that. It's almost like a ghost town like everywhere else now. So that was a really interesting story. I also get to do fun things and choose my stories. I have a Rebekah's Corner on RebekahsBackground, and I interviewed my mom. She started making masks. She lives in Ohio still, and she's making these safe masks from her Florida room in Ohio, and she's using the type of material and the fabric that is really preventing germs from getting in or out. So I got to go through that process with her, and actually I thought it was just something fun for Rebekah's Corner, but that's been our highest viewership, is my mom in Ohio making these safe masks. People want to know how to be safe in this time, and they want to know that maybe the T-shirt sleeves that they're cutting off and putting around their nose isn't doing all that much to help them. Of course, it's doing something, but how to make masks that are really safe. And so that has been the highest viewership of any of the videos in recent weeks.
Have you? I've read a couple articles about the effectiveness of mask, and I'm not disputing that it's not important. It's actually, it seems to be what the general consensus is. It's best for getting people that are asymptomatic from spreading to other people, because the people that become infected are, you know, it's on their face, on their eyes, because if someone coughs on you, the mask doesn't, it may block you from ingesting the droplets through your lungs, through the nose or the mouth, but you still have it on your face and your clothing and things like that where it could be. So they are suggesting, as general, if you are practicing social distancing, if you're going to be within 6 feet of someone for more than 2 minutes, you know, it makes sense to wear a mask. And we do it here. And that I was really shocked a couple weeks ago when I saw a doctor and his wife and in Publix I'd say 4 days before they required, or 5 days before they required everyone to start wearing masks, to walk around without mask or face covering.
Yeah, I noticed too. I've noticed people who are in the medical industry, and I saw a doctor a couple of days ago for actually it was a veterinarian, and he had a mask on sometimes. But we had the mask on all the time. I just kind of worried about his safety, and of course, every time you go outside right now, you're taking a risk.
Yes.
So what we've been trying to do is we're trying to minimize any possible risks, like we were talking about earlier with numbers game. That's what it is. And I think there was this commercial. I can't remember what city put it out. Maybe a big city put it out, and it was just this dominoes. The dominoes all together, and one knocks down, and it touches everything else. So it really is a huge risk going outside. I know right here in the Keys we only have approximately 60 cases, and so we're nothing compared to those bigger cities. But that's still 60 cases. We're still taking a risk. Every time we step foot outside of our houses, we have to take these precautions. Even if a mask is not going to do everything, of course, it's safer. This type of mask that my mom's making is safer than just using, a shirt or whatever. But it's still a risk. You go out. We wear latex gloves. We come back, we wash our hands, we sanitize things, we spray Lysol on the boxes that were delivered. I have a P.O. box. I have to go to the post office. I hate going to the post office. I love seeing my friends there, like the Teresa who works at the Tavernier post office, but I hate going there. I don't know what to touch. I have my gloves on, and I open the door, and then I touch my keys to go into the post office box. And then I don't want to put my keys back in my purse because it could touch other things. It's a mission. It's a mental mission to go outside anymore.
From what I understand, it's just frequent washing, good hand hygiene, and not touching your face, and making sure that you sanitize areas like your surfaces in your house, on your steering wheel, and things like that are your best effective way of avoiding it. But
right.
With these videos, you mentioned a success like your mother's video of making the mask. What's your greatest hope for, let's say, a company? We have restaurants that we're full service restaurants. I think a lot of times, and it's just they're just barely hanging on right now. They're just keeping their kitchen going, maybe keeping their chef and some of their key employees busy by doing the takeout, because obviously you're not doing the same amount of business as you did before. But I think it's besides being able to help them, it also shows people saying, listen, these are the people that are affected, and then eventually we are going to come out of it. It would be something like, oh, well, that was nice that they did this, and you're just reacquainting them with that. But I think it's a great job that you're doing. And when everything's over, when let's say we start doing the phased thing 1, 2, and 3 weeks from now, or months from now, or whatever the time is, do you want to make it into something, Rebekah and the Keys? Is it going to stay on that 5-minute video format? You're going to stay with the human interest stories? You're going to do featuring businesses, and you're going to offer them for free?
Well, I'm not really sure. I haven't really thought that far in advance. Once we started this with the human interest stories and the stories about businesses and what they are doing to pivot in this market and this economy. Once we started with that, we've been really going full blast. I mean, I have a full-time job as a teacher, and so I'm doing that, more than working hours during the day. And then from that, I switched right into Rebekah and the Keys mode, and have been going after people who need help and who need to get their message across and helping them. So it's really been a few weeks now, 3 weeks or so since this idea, in this whole we revamped the website in a weekend. That's it. We sat down for an entire weekend and we revamped this website from just listing all these videos that I've done. I've done, 60, 80, 100 videos for TD88. So we revamped the whole thing, into what it is right now. And then I had also been writing a journal because I'm a writer. I love to write, and that's how you kind of work things out in your head sometimes. And so I had also been writing this journal because I just thought, wow, I need to document this. I don't know for what purpose this is going to serve, but this needs to be documented. So really since the very beginning of this, since spring break, our spring break here was mid-March, I think March 15th-ish, something like that. They all blend together. But spring break, we went to Okeechobee on a bass fishing trip, and even before that, like a week before that, I think, maybe the second week of March, I started journaling all of everything because it's just such a weird, it's surreal time. And then the emotions that people go through, usually if I'm writing something, I know that you're a comedian. And so, you know, you probably, when you write or when you're in your comedy mode, you're always, you know, laughing and doing this. But I started writing and I realized I would go from being like really serious and freaked out to comical and laughing at things. And then I realized, well, maybe this is the way that humans deal with things. Maybe this is such, I don't want to say a negative stress, but it's such a change, so different that people are dealing with things in all sorts of ways. And you can see in my writing, I could read it and go, wow, in this, you know, people would read my writing and say, you know what, in that article, I laughed, I cried, I felt bad, I felt happy, and all in one day of writing. And so what I decided to do there is I made another section of Rebekah and the Keys called Corona Blog. And I took all of those. I think it was April 5th because I have a lot of entries from April 5th. I think, April 5th. And then I just, one after another, I posted all the days. It took me most of the day. But I posted all of the days that I had written, and I've continued to do that when I can. So it's just really about documenting this human experience at this time in our existence, the emotions, everything, my emotions in Corona Blog and everybody else's emotions, and how they're pivoting in their businesses, how they're, just rethinking their lives when you can't go out, and rethinking their priorities. And so that's what I want Rebekah and the Keys to be about now. In the future, you know, who knows what's going to happen. But of course, I definitely want to continue this. This has been an amazing experience, and I love doing it in my spare moments.
So wait, are you going to be on Tumblr? Is there going to be a Rebekah and the Keys on Tumblr, which is an excellent format for blogs, you know?
Well, you know, I'm not really sure about that. I have just signed up for Twitter. That's how you got a hold of me, Twitter, and I'm just now learning the basic ropes of Twitter. And I had a personal Instagram. Now I have a Rebekah and the Keys Instagram. So
you can
Jim
link them all
really,
together if you want. You can link it all together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, Jim
you know
is a
the
digital
funny thing about
marketing
that
expert, and I have that at my fingertips.
Yeah. The funny thing about all these
But I was just going to say that he's the expert.
The interesting thing about
Go ahead.
With social media is you get all these avenues for getting out there, and then when, let's say, I wasn't sure if I wasn't sure if we communicated through LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or messaging, just a phone message. And I'm looking for your number, and I'm going, oh my God, how did I contact Rebekah originally? Because I was looking for your phone number, and then I found it on Twitter. So with
hilarious.
this, we're going to get onto this. This works perfectly. Long distance learning. You're 11th grade English teacher and English language teacher. The last year, I don't know if. Was it last year when time's kind of telescoped, but I spoke to a senior class. No, it was in the fall, I think. You know Tracy, one of your fellow teachers. She's a English teacher at Coral Shores.
Yeah, definitely.
I spoke to a class of seniors.
For her Avid class, I think.
Yeah. I spoke about resilience.
Wonderful.
I spoke about
wonderful.
resilience.
What a great topic.
Yeah, and you know what? it's going to sound shameless and egotistical, but I killed it. I had them rapt attention.
That's awesome.
They were in there, and I'm looking forward to doing that again when we have the opportunity again. But as 11th
Well,
grade,
I'd love to have you in my classroom. That would be wonderful in my classroom too. These young kids really do need those positive messages. What they're going through right now is just something that, I mean, nobody's been through it, but think about all of the experiences that you and I have as much older than them people. I don't want to say older, but because we're spring chickens, but much older than them. And we've had all of these experiences, we've learned to deal with things. This class the senior class has been through Irma. That was in their time in high school too, and they were dealing with that too, but they were a little bit younger. But we have dealt with so much, from relationships to loss to successes, and these kids haven't. And the first assignment that I gave my students when I was doing distance learning is we had always been on the computers. I'm in a computer lab at my at school at Coral Shores High School, and so I've really used all of these different platforms, online platforms in the past, and so my students are pretty used to them. So their first assignment was to write a journal in their Weebly blog. I have them writing journals in Weebly, and their topic was my experience, and it's just been their experience in the last few weeks with the coronavirus and being quarantined in their house. And you have all these range of emotions. You have kids who are so happy that they could come to school in their underwear now, with distance learning, or lay in bed all day with, relaxed and comfortable, and they're really excited and happy about that. And you have kids that are just longing for their friends, and maybe their girlfriend or their boyfriend that they can't see, really. They could maybe Skype or FaceTime, but they really can't see that person much. I had one guy he wrote about he had to make a choice. He had to either be with his girlfriend and her mother and not go out anywhere, or he live at home. And he chose to be with his girlfriend and his mother. Now, the reason he couldn't go out anywhere is they have asthma. And so if he was to carry the coronavirus back, they would have horrible consequences, or could have it. He didn't know, but he's completely kind of distanced from everybody else, and he can't go to the store because he cares about his girlfriend and his girlfriend's mom who have asthma. So all these stories that I'm seeing, it just really breaks my heart, because they have such lack of real world experience, and now they're having this major challenge in their life. They're hearing this news that I've turned off, that they don't know if they should turn it off or not, but they haven't had the experience to be able to really deal and cope with some of this stuff, and it's heartbreaking.
So that I was going to say, what are the new challenges for remote learning? Them not experiencing those things, not being able to be with their friends and visualize. You have the people that are the classes effective when these young people are so distracted by what they lack right now, like human contact.
Well, I think that actually when we started school, I think that it actually was a positive thing. They were so bored and they were so isolated that when we came back from spring break, which, school didn't start, distance learning didn't start until, almost a week after, again, time blends together. So a week after we should have come back. I went to the school and I got things that I needed, and then they told us, really, don't come back to school. We don't want you here. We don't want germs here. We don't want to give you germs, So, but I think when the kids went to distance learning, they were craving structure. They were craving some kind of normalcy in their daily routine. And I really think that our school district, in particular, did a fantastic job of preparing us as teachers, I mean, I had used a lot of online tools, but some people hadn't. So they had this course, and teachers could learn about all of these different online platforms. And Google Meet is how we have our classrooms. But these kids, they came back and they were anxious and willing to be on the Google Meets. On the first day of class, April 1st, we had about a 96% attendance number for the first day of school back. And what that means is 96% of the students logged into one or more of their classes. So they were really, really craving this normalcy. And how it's been going since is, for me, it's a little bit different from most teachers, but for me, it's easier and it's more challenging at the same time. It's easier because I had this down in my classroom. We were taking tests in a Modo, and we had a Google Classroom that they were making vocabulary slides in. And what I've tried to do is take that course for teachers and just integrate some new platform every week for my own knowledge and to keep the students interested and engaged in learning new things, because this right now has been an opportunity for them to learn all of these technological programs and apps, and it's been great for technology. But the way that it's been challenging is that I teach not only English, 11th grade English, but I teach English language learners. And so they are mostly Spanish-speaking kids who don't speak hardly any English. Some of them speak fine conversational English, but they still need to be in that classroom so that they can pass the FSA. So it's like more focused on passing the FSA and the other tests that they need to take. But most of them, a lot of them don't speak any English at all. And so I have a cursory knowledge of Spanish, and I can speak conversational Spanish. But getting them on board, sometimes their socioeconomical status is lower than other kids. They're here, working jobs, supporting their families or whatnot. And it was really hard to get some of those kids on board with what they needed to do. They didn't understand what was happening. I have one kid that I haven't heard from yet. I heard he picked up a laptop at Coral Shores, and then we've talked to his father a couple times, but I can't get him engaged in the class. I don't know what's going on. So they assigned me a Spanish-speaking paraprofessional, a support person, so she could call and have conversations. But sometimes these people have more important things, and that's what we have to remember as teachers. They have more important things right now. They might be trying to get food for dinner tonight. They might be taking care of kids. These students are taking care of younger brothers and sisters, and school really isn't the most important thing. So I wouldn't say that my classes are 96% attended, but they're well attended every day. But it has been a challenge to get the Spanish speakers who don't speak hardly any English involved. But I have a wonderful support person, and she has been doing great now that we've got a couple kids. We found a couple kids and lured them into the class, and now they're doing really well. But my principal has been doing wonderful Skype meetings for faculty meetings. He really tells us how it is. He gives us all the updates and responds to us in a very, very quick, timely fashion, and when we email him. And so there are benefits to distance learning, and then there are also detriments. Like I really miss their faces. Especially the ELL students, they would come in and give me hugs every day, and I miss that. And they would come to my classroom at lunch, and we'd turn on the dance videos at lunchtime, and we'd all get up and dance. It was so silly, but I miss it so much,
Well, you know what? That's a very positive message you've been giving, and it segues nicely into it. Especially the service industry in the Keys, we're heavily dependent on tourism down here, and there's a lot of people that, frankly, we have a high percentage of people that are, we have a high ratio of immigrant population. Some of them are undocumented, and whether they are or not, they're vital to this community. They serve.
Absolutely.
They're workers here, and they're a lot of times they could be missed and just overseen. Like people just don't, if they don't, out of sight, out of mind. So it's nice to see that someone's concerned about them. And I try not to engage people that, if there's any negative thing out there, usually my listeners aren't the type that say, well, they should be out of here and stuff like that. And I say, well, you don't know what it would be like without these people that are working these entry-level jobs. These
right, and for them too, I can add that, I don't, whatever your opinion on it is on that subject, these are kids. They are where their parents want them to be. They don't have any choice in this. And so despite your opinion on that whole subject, it's that these are high schoolers who have come here at their parents' will, and we do what we can for them. We try to make them productive citizens and get them what they need to contribute to our society, and they're wonderful. You wouldn't believe the hearts in these kids, and they're actually my favorite to teach because they want to and they need to learn English. My other class, I love those kids too. They have wonderful personalities, and some of them are really high flyers, and they just soak up everything. It's great. But a lot of them are in English class because they have to be there. They have to be in English, get 4 credits, 1 a year, and to be able to graduate. So English might not be their thing. It might be, I'm just going to be a mechanic anyway. I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. I'm going to have a family business or whatever. I don't need this class. And so it's really hard to engage those kids. But every single one of my English language learners, they want to be there, and they know, and they're grateful to be at school. And that's really something that's different than mainstream student body population.
Well, I 100% endorse that message. You're the chairwoman of the Amarada Achievable Housing and Citizen Advisory Committee.
Correct.
Housing insecurity, the rents, housing in the Florida Keys is pricey, and they're currently. I'll just throw a little number out there. There's 74,000 residents as of 2019. About 12.7% live at or below the poverty rate, and the rents and housing here, even if you are above the poverty rate, I'd even hesitate if you're just, middle income. It's very difficult. Do you see any concerted effort by the county? We see Habitat for Humanity. They have some places going up. These are new construction going up in Winley Key. That's right for families, and there's approximately all combined between the income-based apartments and rent-subsidized apartments. It's a total of 1,450 residencies, and then if you average the families out being around 5, that still only covers that'd be about 7,500 people, and it doesn't even meet the poverty level. The poverty level is still 1,500 above it, besides the other people that live above the poverty level and have, that could be double that number. Is Monroe County really serious about it? Because every time I see, sometimes there's a meeting, let's say up in the Upper Keys, and they're talking about affordable housing. You see they're talking about putting up housing for $300,000, $400,000 a unit, or you have something that costs $2,500 a month, which could be 50%, 60% of someone's income.
Right. Yeah, it's a really, really difficult issue, Jim. It's something that on my committee we just have to, how there's a saying, you throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks. You have to throw everything against the wall. You have to attack this problem from all sorts of different angles. Now, it's really a very difficult situation we have with a limited amount of land, and the number of people who want to live here, the number of people that we need to live here. I mean, we need school teachers like me, and firemen, and cops, and people to work at the restaurants and the service industries. It's, we need those people, but how do we afford it with the high price of land and the demand to be here? And so, again, there's no answer. So whether the county or the village is working toward it, I think we're working toward it, but it's just, I don't want to say I'm in an impossible committee, because we make successes. It would be impossible if we didn't make these programs and these little successes, because if we can chip away by little by little by little, then we're going to make an impact, and we're going to do what it takes to hang on as a functioning society here in the Keys. But one of the initiatives that I spearheaded on the Affordable Housing Committee was the Affordable Housing Down Payment Assistance Program. Well, it was the first time home buyers down payment assistance program, where the village would give somebody who qualifies as medium or low income, they would give them $10,000 to buy a house. And that's how I bought my house. And I was so grateful to be able to buy my house that I continued to serve on the Affordable Housing Committee and help other people get into these houses too. And so it's not an affordable house. It's not built as affordable. And it could be any house that you find that's for sale that you could afford to live in with the monthly payments. But Islamorada knows that it's difficult sometimes for those working people to come up with this $10,000 because of the cost of living down here. So Islamorada gave me $10,000 toward my down payment and closing costs and all that. So since then, we have now been discussing, and 2 months ago, I think, was our last meeting because of this coronavirus, we were discussing opening up this program to not just first-time home buyers, but any home buyer. And first time, I just have to say, first time is defined as within the last, I thought it was 5 years, but then I heard it was 3 years, 3 years according to HUD. So we want to open it up to everybody who meets those income qualifications, because say like a husband and a wife, they get divorced and they're working people, and the husband just owned that house, but he wants to live in an apartment for a while and then buy his own house. Does he have to wait 3 to 5 years to get that money from the Islamorada? And we tend to think no, that maybe he should be able to apply for it too. So we're looking at all these different ways. We're looking at all these different initiatives. We're talking about granny flats. I can't give you much detail on that one. Mark Gregg is the expert. He's a real estate attorney, and he's the one person spearheading that granny flat idea. And then we just all have like a little assignment. And I'm a teacher, and so I assigned everybody their passion. What do you want to do to chip away at this problem? And every meeting comes in and they say, okay, here's where I got with my initiative. Here's where I got with my initiative. And then we move together, we give each other ideas, and we move forward that way. But in a couple years, we're going to come to the end of being able to build. So we have to deal with that problem too. What happens when we've reached build out? What happens with the property owners who are not able to build? Do we have to buy those? Will that bankrupt our government? What do we do then? And so that's a whole nother avenue that we have to explore here on the committee.
Well, you know what? I salute everything you do there, and I think that's wonderful. That's a wonderful service that you provide, and it's very admirable that there's a group of concerned citizens that are taking up this cause. And I just wish all the success in the future with that, because it means a lot to the health of the county. We're going to move on.
Thank you.
We're going to eventually finish up on a high note. I know that, but right now, you're, as Rebekah in the Keys, as someone seeing, looking into these businesses, these human interest stories, as a teacher, what do you think about these initiatives coming out right now? And it's coming day by day. You see there's a segment of the population that believes that the cure for this illness is worse. I mean, the cure is worse than what we're going through economically, and that we're going to have to, in order to make an omelet, we're going to have to break some eggs. And it's pushing to, let's say, even though they came out with a phased approach, they seem to be pushing the shortening of the social distancing, or not the shortening. Maybe that's I misspoke. Maybe shortening the time that we're sure we're out of this, flattening out the curve. Do you know?
Right. I think shortening that is just dangerous. I'll tell you, I understand the plight. Like I said, I'm offering all of these free videos to businesses because I want to help. But I totally understand the challenges that we have right now, the economic challenge. But my belief was that we were ready for a change in society. We were ready. This was the time. I believe everything happens just like it should happen. That is my mantra. That's what we always say. That's how we keep positive and how we keep moving on. Everything happens the way it should. And right now, I think that this happened, and the way it's very devastating, and my heart goes out to people who have lost their loved ones and their friends. I think, though, that this is a time where we've had technology and we've had these resources. As a teacher, we've had a lot of this stuff before the social isolation. I couldn't believe what was available to me. So we've had this, but we have not really been using it. We haven't been incorporating it into our lives, although it has existed. And Mother Nature, the universe, God, whatever you believe, just said, you know what, it's time for a change. And here's what's going to happen. And I don't think that our world really ever will be the same. I think that, I hate to admit this because I'm on keto diet, but I ordered a pizza from Domino's. I needed a pizza last night. You just have those days you needed a pizza. And yesterday was one of those days for me. So I ordered a pizza last night, and I put my toppings on the computer, and it told me when my pizza was ready. And this technology is unbelievable, and I think that this is the future. We are in the future. Maybe we will go back to school, and maybe we will go back to our social clubs, but we're always going to have this, I don't want to say scar, but this impression in our minds about, what germs are and how easily things can be transferred from person to person. And, I miss my hugs from my students, but will I hug them again? I don't know. Mm-hmm. So everything is going to be different. I would strongly caution anybody against, going out if they didn't have to. It's been an experience where we've limited our number of trips outside of the house. And it's just better safe than sorry. But I think it's businesses. I think that people will pivot to adapt to this new world. Maybe they weren't ready for it, but here it is. It's here. And now they got to do it. And now they are doing it. They're developing ways to do it. There's car dealerships that are offering disinfection services and, no interest for 60 months. So, this needed to happen for businesses to change. I don't know, like you said, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know, but it is happening, and businesses are changing and adapting. And if we are saying that opening the keys or opening your area is the way to recover the economy, you're throwing out the baby with the bathwater. You're just opening up everything to go back to the way that it was. So maybe to recover the economy, we all need to learn to adapt and change how we do things, use the technology that's available, develop new and exciting technology, and make that part of the business. I had groceries delivered last Saturday. How awesome is that? I'm going to do that even when I can go back to school and I can go out and be in my social clubs and work on the Affordable Housing Committee. I'm going to still have my groceries delivered. What a great time-saving effort that was. And I don't have to be exposed to possible germs and maybe get sick less often. I get the flu a couple times a year or get sick. And so this is a new world, and people are adapting, and the economy is coming back around. People are still doing things, but they're going to have to do them differently. I mean, the face-to-face things, like I talked to today, DT Israel, who is a hairstylist up in Key Largo. You do. Wonderful. Okay,
yes.
So I interviewed her today. That video will be coming out probably in the next few days. And, she's going to have to definitely touch people, but she's still going to take more precautions. I can tell everybody is going to change and adapt and be more cautious.
Mm-hmm.
Our moms told us to wash our hands when we were little, but now we're taking it seriously.
Yes.
So I think the economy will come back whether we're outside or not, is my point there.
Well, thank you. That was a positive message, and I agree with you. I would not, if I didn't agree with you, I wouldn't have said anything, but I agree with you 100%. And on this, one of the things you did mention, I figure we'll finish with this, is that you said you're a musician and a songwriter. What instrument do you play, and what kind of genre do you work in? And have you been doing this?
Right.
Have you been doing it during this time we had?
Okay, so I play the piano. I've been playing the piano since I was really little, and then I play the bass guitar. Now I fool around on the guitar, but I'm not very good on the guitar. But I played the piano since I was young, and then maybe 4 years ago, me and a few other teachers at Coral Shores High School got together and said we wanted to start a band. So I was the bass player and the keyboardist. Mm-hmm. I would do the bass guitar on some songs, the keyboard on other songs, and sometimes I would do them both at the same time. So that was kind of my little challenge. I love little challenges. So I played in the band for a few years, and then after that, I decided to build my own recording studio at my house. Mm-hmm. My 3-bedroom house. So I turned the office into a recording studio, which ironically I have had to turn it back to an office to work from with distance learning. But it was a recording studio, and I still have all my programs. I could probably fit some instruments around my neck if I wanted to. But what I've been since the quarantine, I've written a couple songs and I record them, and it's just really for a hobby or for fun right now. And I figure Jim is really the technological expert, and he's doing all the videos for Rebekah and the Keys right now. And I figure once things kind of slow down, or maybe once I go on my summer break, if that ever happens, then we'll focus more on the songs and everything. But I have a few recorded just right here on my computer. Yeah. I wrote some songs for the band, too. We played it out. One song I wrote was called Teacher's Song. It was about, it's like, this. They say that those who can't do teach, but it's okay because we're at the beach. It's all right because we got the summers off. So it's a song about the perks of being a teacher. So that's my musical experience there. I love music. I encourage everybody to pick up an instrument if they have some spare time right now. Writing and reading and music and creativity, that's what's going to bring young people into themselves here in this really strange time where you can't be around other people.
Well, I'm not going to put you in a corner, but you got to tell me where you're working from. Are you like a Taylor Swift, or you Tori Amos, or you
Okay, well, the band was a classic rock band. I love classic rock. They tried to incorporate some country, and I said no country. That's no. Yeah. We played a lot of different things. I can ramble them off
rock,
here.
That's great. So.
So I have my set list right here. First set we played. Can't You See, Knocking on Heaven's Door, Tupelo Honey, Pirate Looks at 40, Play for Gumbo, Tequila Sunrise, Toes in the Sand, Endless Summer.
Eagles,
Van
Morrison.
That one was a really good one.
Okay, I see it.
Oh my God, I love it. I even let them play. It convinced me to play Wagon Wheel, which country tones. I love it because it's so much fun to play. Three Little Birds, we played a little reggae there, too.
Oh, wow.
That was a little difficult to learn. That was probably my most difficult one to learn because in reggae, the beat is very different. And being the bass player, I had to pick that up before anybody could get the song. So Ring of Fire. Just really great songs. That was just the first set. The other two kind of fell off my keyboard in the last couple of years. But it was a really fun time. The songs that I write are just all over the place. They're, I guess, maybe a twinge of Tori Amos, you mentioned, but I like the classic stuff the best.
Oh, great. I'm not a big country guy. My skin used to crawl every time I'm working and someone would play. I would turn off the jukebox. You know what? Someone's going to get me.
Right.
I love that song. I Love This Bar. I hate. Oh my God. Or the rhymes in Whiskey for My Friends, Beer for My Horses. And I thought, PETA would have a great thing about that. Feeding beer to horses. What a ridiculous thing. I mean, but no, it's just the rhyme scheme in it.
I don't even know
evil
that
forces,
one.
beer for my friend, whiskey for my friends, and beer for the horses. I don't know. It's just it's like cat people and dog people, just the way it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. They tried to bring some country into there, something about if mama ain't happy, nobody happy, or something like that. I don't know what it was. I said, no, absolutely not, won't do it, no. And that was that. I hate to diss any country fans because, it really is, people love it, and I appreciate that you love it, and some of it is very talented too, and lyrics sometimes can be real good and relatable, but things that just ain't my cup of tea.
Yeah, I see it. Well, we've covered the gambit here, Rebekah, and I appreciate. We're almost at an hour. I normally go 45 minutes, but we don't have any time.
Okay.
Well, we do have time restraints. I have a total of 3 hours I can record. Now, I've never done.
Oh, well, then ask me some more questions.
Yeah. We can always come
We're going
back
for the record, Jim.
We can always do another show, I think. And I love the picture you sent was the one I downloaded just in case. I was going to ask you. I wouldn't put it on there, but that was the one I have it ready to go. So the picture you sent in the email.
Perfect.
Yes, and it's a lovely picture.
Branding.
Yes, and it's important. And I want to thank you for being on the show. And I will share this, and I'll make sure you get a copy of it. And we're going to talk about this again. Let's give us where we can get a hold of these videos. Give us those addresses.
All right, so you just go to RebekahInTheKeys.com, and Jim, you spelled it for us earlier, Rebekah in the Keys.com, and there's a whole bunch of different videos on there you can look at, or you can go to YouTube and just look up Rebekah in the Keys, and they're all on YouTube. I have that channel there too. You can get notifications on Instagram, Rebekah in the Keys, Facebook, Rebekah in the Keys, and like you said, Twitter, it's Rebekah_Keys. And that's where you can find me right now, and I really appreciate the time you've given to me and the what you do for the community and the society here, Jim.
Oh, thank you very much. And I'm going to put it in the title. I'll put your name in the title. I was thinking about Rebekah, hot for teacher, but I'm not going to put that in there for you.
No.
I'll make it respectable. I'll make it respectable. Rebekah in the Keys, so we just have that spelling correct. So.
All right, perfect.
Yes, I will do that, and I'll make sure we have a link there, and I'll put it in the summary, and I'll make sure you get a copy of this. And I thank you, and we'll do this again, and I'm sure we'll meet in the future once this is all over. Or maybe we'll meet over the internet here. Thank you very much.
All right, wonderful. That sounds great, Jim. Thanks.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All right, you stay safe, all right? Bye.
Bye. Well, listen, I started the music again. I'd like to thank all of you for listening. We'll be back. I started the music right away, but I'd like to thank Rebekah, and we'll be back probably in a couple hours.